Yo boys, it's Dan. Welcome to game week number 4 of the Premier League. Yes, boys, it is game week number 4 of the Premier League season. We are getting a clearer indication now of who is beginning to do well in the Premier League and who might be going down to the Championship, back down again. We have another guest this week. His name is Tyler Ives. Yeah.
Hello, and I am the guest here on the predictions for match day 4 of the Premier League on Dan United 2301's channel for his predictions for match day 4 of his video.
Yes, we had to change it about a little bit, but we're back with game week number 4, and our first game is Luton versus West Ham United. Now, Luton Luton lost to Chelsea on their game, but this is their first home game of the season back at Kenilworth Road. They've changed Kenilworth Road over from a Championship ground into a Premier League ground. They put almost 2 million into this Premier League stadium for this season, and they play a West Ham team who are both on confidence after beating Brighton and Hove Albion on last weekend. And I think that Luton, will they be up for the game? Will Kenilworth Road erupt this week on Friday night? I think they will. I'm gonna go West Ham 0, Luton 1. And Tyler, do you agree with me for this first time for game week for Luton's first game of the Premier League season? Now we move.
My Premier League prediction on Friday night football between Luton Town and West Ham United. It's going to be the first game. It's going to be played at Kenilworth Road this season, since the work and construction work has all been done for Premier League ready for Luton Town's ground. And they play the first home game of the season this Friday against West Ham United at 8 p.m. Well, however the results between the two sides so far this season, Luton Town have lost to Brighton and also lost as well to Chelsea on Friday. But as for West Ham, a very good start to the season this campaign, as West Ham United actually got a draw out of Bournemouth, beating Chelsea at home, and also won away from home to Brighton on Saturday. So I'm going to go for this prediction today right now between Luton and West Ham. I'm going to go, as it's at Kenilworth Road, and the fans are going to be really at it, they're going to be really cheering on the Luton Town players on the pitch. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for Luton. Luton will score only 1 goal in the game, and I think West Ham will probably pop the bus. So I'm going to go for Luton Town 1, West Ham United 0 in my prediction on Friday.
To Sheffield United versus Everton. Now, Sheffield United did play Man City. They gave Man City a game, to be fair. They scored in like the 80th minute, and they scored early, well late, and then Wadri annoyingly ruined the party for the Blades. But Everton, they signed another striker called Beto from somewhere in Spain, something like that. So yeah, he's in. But I think this is going to be a bow and draw. A 0-0 draw between Sheffield United and Everton.
My Premier League prediction between Sheffield United and Everton. This is a very good game, a very interesting game, because obviously Everton have lost all 3 games so far this season. They're in poor form so far at the beginning of this Premier League campaign. But as for Sheffield United, they've lost all the 3 games also, and they are struggling also down the bottom at the start of the season. Obviously losing their first game to Crystal Palace. They also lost to Nottingham Forest. They even lost as well against Man City by 2-1 also. And obviously for Everton, however, they lost to Fulham at home. They also lost as well to Aston Villa 4-0. And also lost to Wolves by a narrow 1-0 win on the weekend. But this matchup is going to be a real good contest between two sides. A very interesting one. It's at Bramall Lane though, at the Bramall at Sheffield United's home ground. So I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for Sheffield United 1, Everton 1 at the game, in my opinion, on this weekend's prediction between the Blades and the Toffees at Bramall Lane.
We move to Brentford versus AFC Bournemouth. Now, I think this game could be another close one. Brentford are not themselves this season. Drew again to Crystal Palace. They're the most drawn team that I've played against them. So they're the most drawn team they've been played against. And I think, and Bournemouth, I mean, got beaten by Spurs by 2-0. So I think that it would be very close. I think it'll be 2-1 to Brighton, 2-0 Brighton against Brentford. And Tyler, what are you saying in this game?
My Premier League prediction between Bournemouth and Brentford. Well, the two sides, however, had a very good start to the season, sort of for Bournemouth as well. They actually got a point they did in their first game. But we start off with Brentford. A very good start to the season. They got a draw out of Spurs. They won against Fulham 3-0 on match day 2, and also match day 3 they even got another draw out of Crystal Palace. As for the away team, Bournemouth, however, they also got a draw out of West Ham United, lost to the two big teams, however, we all knew that's going to happen, Liverpool and Spurs. But they got back into reality now, Bournemouth. They've got a very, winnable game on this weekend coming up against Brentford away. But since Brentford's home form's quite good at home, and Bournemouth going there, it's going to be a tough one. But I'm going to go for Brentford 2, Bournemouth 1 in my prediction in match day 4 between the two sides.
Now we move to Burnley versus Tottenham Hotspur. Now we talk about Spurs, and Ange Postecoglou has Tottenham Hotspur playing. They beat Bournemouth, but they beat Man United, and they also beat Brentford as well. They drew to Brentford. So they drew Brentford, beat United, and beat us, and beat Bournemouth. He has been playing right. He needs Richarlison to score some goals now. Better chipping the goals. They're looking dangerous. 3-0 Spurs. And Tyler, what are you saying in this game?
My Premier League prediction between Vincent Kompany's Burnley and Ange Postecoglou's Spurs. Well, we'll start off with Burnley. They have not won any games so far yet this season. They had a game postponed on match day 2 because they meant to play Luton at home, but obviously the ground wasn't ready. They lost to Man City. They lost to Aston Villa. But in my Premier League prediction between, however, the two sides on the weekend, between Burnley and Spurs, well, Spurs, we'll get to them before we get to the prediction. Tottenham done quite well so far this season. Despite them losing Harry Kane during that season just about to begin to go to Bayern Munich, they really carried out and really got some results still, with regardless on the big loss of Harry Kane. They even got a draw out of Brentford. They even won against Man United. I think Dan won't like that. But also as well on this weekend beating Bournemouth by 2-0. But this game here at Turf Moor away from home, I'm going for another victory for Spurs. So I'm going to go for Burnley 1, Spurs 3 in my prediction for matchday 4.
Now we move to Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest. Now, Chelsea again beat Luton 3-0. Raheem Sterling in and amongst the goals for Chelsea. Is he beginning to find some form now? Is he beginning to like Mauricio Pochettino. And now Forest gave Manchester United a game. And you know, Awani has scored in in the last 4 competitive games in the Premier League. Can he do it again? I think Chelsea. I think they will score, but I think it'll be too much for Chelsea. I'm gonna go. It'll be two. There'll be 2. Which Chelsea? I'm gonna go 2-1 Chelsea, and Awani will score again, but non-Forest. And Tyler, what are you saying in this game?
My Premier League prediction between Chelsea and Nottingham Forest in match day 4. Well, Chelsea, we all know that they obviously lost to West Ham. They got a draw out of Liverpool, and they even got their first victory over Luton 3-0 on Friday. But they're at home again against Nottingham Forest, a team who almost might have got something out of Arsenal the first game of the season. On match day 2, they even beat Sheffield United in a very scrappy win. They even got almost a victory out of Manchester United away from home, but lost 3-2 against them. But my prediction right here between Chelsea and Forest, and since Chelsea's team they're not really, well, gelled together, this new squad that Pochettino's got in the summer. But also for Forest, however, their teams, they can score goals. And even their striker up front's been scoring goals for Forest as well. And I think this match on the weekend, I'm going to go for a shocker in my opinion. I'm going to go for Chelsea 1, Nottingham Forest 2. Even though that Forest were actually leading at Old Trafford on the weekend, I think they're going to make another shocker and beat Chelsea. Legit beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge away from home. So I'm going for 2-1 Forest.
Now we move to Man City versus Fulham. Now Man City, they're the only team in the Premier League that are unbeaten after 3 games. And to tell you, I'm not surprised. They are probably the best team. They'll win the league again, but I'm on again this season probably. And Fulham, they are not that. Fulham aren't the best. They've just signed Timothy Castagna from Leicester. And I mean, I don't think they're going to do this well against them. 2-0 to Man City. And Tyler, what are you saying in this game?
My Premier League prediction between Manchester City and Fulham at the Etihad Stadium. Well, this game's going to be a very, very, very easy match for Man City. No question about it. We know that Man City have done quite well so far this season. They won their first match of the season, and they all won the second game and the third game. Also beat Sheffield United on match day 3. They even won in their first game to Burnley 3-1 away from home. And also they got a result on match day 2 also. And they did quite well throughout those 3 games. And even playing against Fulham at the Etihad Stadium, it's going to be a very huge one. It's going to be for Fulham, however. Got a draw out of Arsenal, a team who were challenging Man City from last season. I think they won't get another draw out of Man City. Man City's squad's probably better than Arsenal's team so far this season. So I'm going to go no problems on Man City from winning. So I'm going to go 3-1 City at the Etihad on Saturday.
Now we move to Brighton and Hove Albion versus Newcastle. Yes, Newcastle lost to Liverpool in the 90th minute. Yes, Darwin Núñez scored for Liverpool literally in the last dying minute of the game after Virgil van Dijk was sent off, and Trent Alexander-Arnold should have been in the Liverpool because that was ridiculous what he did. Brighton lost to West Ham, but I think two teams that will be pushing again for top 6. Top 6. I'm going to go for 1-1 draw between Brighton and Hove Albion and Newcastle United. And Tyler, mate, what are you saying in this game?
Evening kick-off at the Amex Stadium on Saturday between Brighton, Hove Albion and Newcastle United. Well, Brighton, however, had a very good start to the season, won 2 wins straight, lost to West Ham on the last weekend 3-1 away, or at home, losing to West Ham at home 3-1, and they are playing at home again to Newcastle. However, Newcastle have done incredibly well in terms of won their first game to Aston Villa. They've also got a victory out of Villa and also lost to Man City by a narrow 1-0 defeat away from home. And would you expect to go to the league champions? You're going to probably end up losing that game anyway because Man City's unstoppable. Even Newcastle team will be in a couple of years from now. But my prediction between Brighton and Newcastle, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think Brighton's going to get some result out of Newcastle because of what happened in the last game. But I'm going to go for a draw though. I think Newcastle will get a point out of Brighton at the Amex. And I think Eddie Howe's team will settle themselves a point on this weekend. So I'm going to go 1-1 between Brighton and Newcastle.
And now we move to a game which has not, Crystal Palace versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Palace looking very good under Roy Hodgson. And Wolves are not looking that good. Wolves win that relegation fight again now. And I'm going to say that Crystal Palace will breeze past it. Or will be 3-0 win to Crystal Palace. And Tyler, mate, what are you saying in this game?
Sunday kick-off between Crystal Palace and Wolverhampton Wanderers. A very good start to the season for Crystal Palace. They even got a result out of Sheffield United, got a draw out of Brentford on the weekend, and also narrowly lost to Arsenal on Monday Night Football. But they're playing at home again at Selhurst Park as a team who obviously lost their manager, Julian Ebatobi, left Wolves just before the season was about to begin and got Gary O'Neill in charge. And he did actually obviously lose to Man United. They lost heavily to Brighton at home at the Molineux. And also on the weekend, they got their first victory of the season by narrowly beating Everton at Goodison Park away from home. But this game, however, as Roy Hodgson's side, I think they're going to be a lot better in that match. They're playing at home for their crowd. There's no tough teams going to be playing against Palace at Selhurst Park. So I think the crowd are going to be up for it. I think the team's going to be up for it. And I'm going to go for Crystal Palace. I'm going to back them to win in that matchup, as Palace will win the game by 2-0 against Wolves on Sunday.
Now we move to one of the games of the weekend. Liverpool versus Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa are so good at the moment. Liverpool will be without their main man, Virgil van Dijk. Liverpool are just too strong at the moment. Liverpool are far too. Liverpool. To be fair, Liverpool are vulnerable. They've lost. They're conceding goals. They've got a leaky defence, but Villa on the other hand can punish. Watkins, DRB, McGinn. They're all firing. Now Villa's front five are all firing. I'm going to say it'll be a close one here. I'm going to go 2-2 between Liverpool and Aston Villa. And Tyler, what are you saying in this game?
My other Sunday kickoff between Liverpool and Aston Villa. Well, Aston Villa, however, obviously did actually lose heavily to Newcastle at the start of the season. Picked up a result in the Conference League against Herb Albion, or Hibs, in the Conference League. Won 5-0 in that one, and they did quite well in the European playoff first leg. They got to play Villa on Wednesday the following week for the second leg at Villa Park. They're probably likely to qualify anyway for the major group stages in September. And they did even got a result against heavily beaten Everton by 4-0 at Villa Park. They did actually got a result back as well to Burnley as well on match day 3. But this matchup on this weekend between Liverpool and Aston Villa, I'm backing Liverpool to win. They're at home at Anfield in front of the Kop. I think the players are going to be up for it in the game, even despite maybe we don't know what's happened with Salah. Will he leave to go to Saudi Arabia, or will he stay during this whole season? We'll have to find out during the transfer deadline on Thursday or even Friday. I don't know what deadline day is going to be. But I'm going to back Liverpool to win. I'm going to go for Liverpool 3, Aston Villa 1.
Now we move to the game of the weekend. Arsenal versus Manchester United. Yes, you've heard it here first. Mikel Arteta versus Eric Ten Hag. But we must talk first about Manchester. My boys, we are in an injury crisis. No Mason Mount, no Luke Shaw, no Tyrell Malacia, and now we've just heard that we have not got Rafa Varane for 6 games because he has picked up an injury, but luckily one of those weeks is an international week. So that's at least 5 weeks out for Anne, but we need a left back, we need a midfielder. We've been linked with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Amrabat from Feyenoord and Spurs respectively, and every single left back in the planet, Reguilon, Cucurella, who do we have? Who do we have on the short list? Bertrand and Tagliafico. Yeah, I know, great. We haven't got any left back at the moment, but could Rasmus Højlund make his long-awaited Manchester debut? But will we have enough? That is a question. Lindelof and probably Martins at the back. With yeah, it's gonna be one of them days. He has to. He likes to go such a player for us. I think we're gonna give Arsenal a game. I'm gonna go 2-1 Manchester and Tyler. I know you are an Arsenal fan, mate, but be nice, Tyler Ives, and that.
The match of match day 4, the big match of match day 4, is between two teams are going to be at it against one another. It's Arsenal and Manchester United. Dan's Manchester United and my Arsenal versus Dan's Manchester United. Well, we've not had a very two good victories, however. Two good victories out of Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace, but wasn't really promising, really. I thought we did concede a goal against Forest in our last home performance, even to Fulham as well, by getting 2 goals conceded at home. And we're not being very critical. We're not being at home so far this season. Away from home, we've been, by the results have shown, by obviously narrowly beating Crystal Palace by 1-0. But Manchester United, however, let's talk about them. They've not had a very good season, sort of. Obviously, got beaten narrowly, victory over Wolves by only by 1-0 in the first game of the season. Got thrashed by Spurs by 2-0 on match day 2. And almost lost to Forest. But they actually got back from 2-0 down to 3-2 on Saturday. And I think both teams are a bit shaky. Arsenal's team is shaky, obviously conceding 2 goals at the Emirates on Saturday. We have in Man United on the other hand conceded 2 goals, but came up and got a result out of Forest though, despite them trailing by 2 goals early on in the game. The same thing as well, we actually conceded the game at the Emirates by a narrow 1-0 victory for Fulham throughout the first half and the start of the game also. But going back to this match between Arsenal and Manchester United, I'm going to go for a very entertaining game. As we're at the Emirates, I'm backing Arsenal to win the game. Sorry, Dan. I'm going to go for Arsenal 3, Manchester United 2. A very interesting, intense game between Ten Hag's Man U and Arteta's Arsenal. So I'm going to go for Arsenal to win 3-2 in my prediction. Sorry, Dan, but that's what I'm going to say in my prediction for match day 4. Thanks, Dan, for allowing me to be a part of your predictions. It's always been a privilege to have me as the guest, obviously, of your videos. And I hope you do well and succeed on your channel. And nothing's really said there. And have a good one.
Will bring this game week to an end. Thank you very much. No Premier League video next week because it is an international week. But I might put out a Champions League because the Champions League draw is literally, as I'm filming this tomorrow, but you saw this yesterday. Who have I got in their group? I might do a group table, a reaction to the group stages of the Champions League. So stay tuned for that. If not, I will see you in 2 weeks for game week number 5. But until then, boys, who will stamp their authority before the international break? Will Man City go into the international break unbeaten? Who are going to it top of the tree? Who are going to it bottom of the table? Find out in 2 weeks. Peace out, boys.